So we are beginning this Wednesday edition of the SportsMax Zone with cricket. It has been an eventful year for the sport in the West Indies between co-hosting the T20 World Cup and changes at the board level. Talking points have been constant, and one such change at the board level was revealed today, with Cricket West Indies officially announcing Rupert Hunter as their new Chief Commercial Officer. Hunter has an abundance of experience in the sports industry. Most recently, he served as the head of brand partnership for the International Cricket Council, the ICC, and has also represented organizations such as Bates Worldwide Advertising, World Sport Group IMG Media, and the Six Nations Rugby. Joining us to tell us more about the appointment and to discuss other issues around the regional game is CWI President Dr. Kishore Shallow, the man from SVG. Doc, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Always a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Hi, Lance. Pleasure's mine. Good evening as well to Morara, who is on the program there with you. Always happy to be with you, man.
Okay, all right. Doc, talk to us quickly about this appointment that was announced today, because I think it would be reasonable to suggest that the commercial arm of Cricket West Indies hasn't flourished in recent years. How much of a boost do you expect Hunter's appointment to be for the board from the commercial standpoint?
I mean, the whole industry, sports in the Caribbean especially, is really challenging. As you know, the dynamics around our own population in the region, which means that we have to focus more externally to generate majority of our resources. And we had Dominic Warren previously in the role, who did relatively well. We parted ways with him, I think, in December so last year. He then moved over to the World Cup, which consumed him up until the end of last month. What we did over the last few months was went through a very robust recruitment process for this new role. It was commercial director previously, but we've just changed it to Chief Commercial Officer, which is more in keeping with modern practice and certainly in the sports industry. And there were over 50 applicants globally, and it's a process of at least 2 interviews for the final shortlisted candidates. And in the end, Mr. Rupert Hunter came out as the top candidate. Well experienced, I think about 25 years in the industry, being involved in sports and elsewhere in the UK. More significantly for us is that he has spent some time with ICC. And so we thought that it was critical to find a suitable person who could hit the ground running. And based on the conversations we have had with Rupert during the interview process, and since we have come to an agreement, we believe that he would certainly fit into our organization really well and bring tremendous value to the organization.
Okay, Doc, you just referenced the former commercial manager, Dominic Warren, and suggested that he did a reasonable job. How much study has been put into his tenure as a commercial manager, the difficulties he would have had excelling in his position? Because you've already suggested, and we understand, that marketing and selling West Indies cricket isn't an easy job. But having studied what has happened in the past years, how much can you say Mr. Hunter comes to the table with, being aware of what is on the table in front of him and the job that he has to do?
One of the messages, and I've been sending over the last year or so, I've stated this clearly almost every opportunity, is the need to diversify our revenue streams, right? And what we set out to do is to have a new commercial arm established. We believe that there are opportunities being missed by Cricket West Indies over the years, and that is because, of course, we are often quite focused or consumed with cricket development and cricket-related matters directly, that we don't spend enough emphasis, we don't put enough resources behind our commercial activities, and so limiting our potential there really. And so with bringing in Rupert, who again has tremendous experience not only in sports but in business environment, corporate world over the years, we believe that he could help us to transform this department into eventually an independent company, an independent entity that would, of course, generate revenue on behalf of West Indies, but where we could put more focus. I think until we are able to do that, and it came out in my manifesto over a year ago, commercial and marketing needed more emphasis and resources. I think Rupert could certainly help us with that transition sooner than later. And that is certainly one of his targets and objectives over the next couple of years. We are hoping well within his first year we'll establish this commercial arm, and that he and the other personnel who are going to be included in the restructuring of that department would certainly help us to achieve our ultimate goal, which is obviously to increase our profit significantly over the next coming years.
Yeah. Having said that, Dr. Shallow, can you make a comment quickly on the state of Cricket West Indies finances? Because these jobs or these personalities don't come cheap, I'm sure, and you are looking for a CEO as well, and you are restructuring departments there. So can you make a quick comment on the general state of Cricket West Indies finances?
I think I could safely say that we are enjoying a pretty stable period financially. We are liquid with sufficient reserve for this point. What is important, and I think Johnny said it to you sometime recently on this program, that it is about budgeting over a 4-year cycle, right? Planning for the years when we may not, host India or England. And I think that is exactly why we need to strengthen our commercial arm, our commercial activities, so that we generate revenue and we could be more sustainable, particularly through those periods, those years when we are likely to have, not as heavy traffic as probably, let's say, the last 2 years. So, I mean, it is certainly when we advertise for these roles and we recruit people, we obviously have a limit in terms of what each role should cost us. And, but fortunately fits within our budget. And we believe that, again, he would bring certainly tremendous value and good value for return on that investment that we are going to put in him over the next 2-3 years.
Right, really good to hear that when it comes to the budget and, of course, the finances of Cricket West Indies. So Lance touched on it, and I'm going to, talk a bit more about it. The search for the new CEO of Cricket West Indies, because that's a position, of course, that comes with a lot of responsibilities, and, it's such an important position when it comes to the running of West Indies cricket. Johnny Grave, of course, has made it public that, he'll be stepping down from the role. What are you looking for in this new CEO that is set to be appointed? And hopefully we can hear who it is really soon.
I think Johnny has done tremendous work, no doubt. I think it is timely in terms of shifting the direction of the organization in terms of leadership, fresh ideas and philosophy and so on. But, strengthening the structure in the organization, being a bit more innovative and exploring new things. There's certainly more, as I said earlier, could be done for commercial. And this is what we expect the new CEO will bring to the table. We plan to start that recruitment process within the next week, with the anticipation that it will take probably about 6 to 8 weeks to identify that the most suitable candidate, and hopefully commencement for them would start January 2nd, the latest. So we do have a transition. Johnny's tenure ends at the end of October, and we do have a plan to have someone within the organization likely to serve in that interim process over the November-December period, and again, a very fresh start from January with a new CEO.
Yeah, and there's so many changes. There's a lot happening when it comes to personnel in Cricket West Indies. We're getting these names day after day. I saw the one with Nissa Pear. She's the communications person now, and of course getting the news today about Hunter. How important is it to you, as of course CWI president, that you get the right people in these positions? And of course, I said it at the top of the show, it's one thing, Mr. President, to of course get these people in the roles, but they have to get the job done. So of course we see the results on the field, and that's what matters, because you know the fans, cricket fans are very, very passionate, and it's one thing to get to see all the work being done behind the scenes, but they want to see that translated on the field and results wise.
All right, it is absolutely important, critical that we get the right personnel, at the right time. Again, I campaign on this as one of the key pillars, human capital, right? And I think in that manifesto, that document, I spoke about an organization is only as strong as its personnel, right? And that more emphasis must be placed on having skilled persons in the more suitable roles in order for optimum performance. And we see it coming out where we have to identify these different areas in our organization for improvement. And, if it means changing personnel, if it means, creating new roles or evolving roles in the organization, we have to do that. But again, critical also is holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Have those measurables in place with targets and objectives, and people must be honest in terms of delivering against these. And I think that is how the organization is going to really improve, by, establishing these measurables, having these honest conversations, knowing when it is time to move and knowing, understand maybe you have hit the ceiling, or, adjust, if you can contribute in another area. And we have been having these honest conversations throughout the entire organization with senior management, junior staff, and so on. And I think we could now say, I spoke to a few of our senior managers recently, and they have said, in terms of the environment at Cricket West Indies, this is probably the best they have seen it in terms of productivity and so on. So I think certainly we are making some strides where human capital is concerned. And, we appreciate everyone, even though you're moving on. I think there are one or two others you're going to hear about soon as well. We continue to pretty much ensure that we maintain good relations with those who are leaving, so that we have a network across the world, because despite they maybe departing from Cricket West Indies, they may still remain in the cricket landscape. And so it is important that we maintain the relationship, which is why we manage the relationship with our staff. The separation must be very amicable and cordial. And, we could continue to enjoy each other's success and continue to the growth of not only Cricket West Indies, but to all the personnel, past, present, and even future. So I think certainly we are, we could say that we are enjoying some success where human capital is concerned. And, those who are coming in now, they are extremely excited. It's an exciting time to be part of West Indies cricket, I would say.
Yeah, good to hear about preserving and maintaining relationships. Is something so important when it comes to business and, of course, just life itself. So really good to hear that coming from you, Dr. Shallow. Now, this new selection system is something that we've been talking about here on the SportsMax Zone. And I know it's not only us, because everybody who loves cricket has a vested interest in this new selection system. And based on the chart that was done, and it was beautifully done, that chart with, of course, breaking down who has the responsibilities for everything, there is still that one, I have to say, what would I call it? It's that one, a feeling of unrest, because, of course, there's the head coach at the top. And many people who are not used to this system feels as if, it still has this room for a bias, because, of course, the coach has the final say. What do you say to that?
There's absolutely no system that would escape, any, total bias, right? I mean, there's always going to be some bias, whether it's at the junior level, regional level, or the senior level at the Cricket West Indies. However, by holding each other accountable, it goes back to that word, accountability, right? By holding each other accountable, being able to have a system, establish a system where everyone could say, well, okay, this is my responsibility, I have to deliver this, and if I don't, the buck stops with me, and they're going to hold me, the organization is going to hold me accountable. Now, that will be the difference between someone making a decision of selecting somebody because of, personal affiliation or any bias, as opposed to looking for the end result, of being result-oriented, really. And ensure that you select on merit. And I believe that we do have competent people in the system. Certainly coaches we have now, they understand the need for a system that is very transparent and where we could each hold each other accountable. I think they appreciate as well that the only how we are going to advance in terms of identifying talent is by going in a system where we are more aligned to role-based selection, right? And establish a brand of cricket and selecting according to those, as opposed to the traditional way of selecting players, because you could end up with, 6 very skillful batsmen, but they are not necessarily capable of performing in the environment or the composition of the team. So that is when we talk about role-based. You're talking about having a specialist number 3 batsman, or a specialist number 5 batsman, and an all-rounder batting at number 6, number 7, and a wicket keeper, and those different roles that the director of cricket, Miles Bascom, and his team, the cricket committee with a few experts there, they came up with this as the best system for this particular time. And it's not new to sport, of course. This system has been employed and enjoyed in football for a number of years. Also in the franchise system in cricket currently, they also have a very similar system, maybe apart from the lower level of identifying talents and so on. So we are going one step further in ensuring that we build a network throughout the entire Caribbean where we could capture talent from very early and have them in the system being managed and fostered and so on until they reach up to the senior level. Hopefully it makes the coaches, the head coach's job a little easier with the layers below him or her.
Yeah, all right, President Shallow, we're going to take a break now. There are a lot more issues surrounding the new selection procedure that you've touched on, but we'd want to delve more into it coming up immediately after the break. So stick around. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.